okay, so just going on the independent track.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
It's cool to have a lot of control.
how long have you guys been an actual band?
I think we've played as the Midnight Mules for like 3 years now, maybe. Yeah, I'd say about 3 years, maybe 2 years. It's hard.
3 years.
It's hard to.
Oh yeah. And did you ever find it frustrating that you can't just quit your day job and just go on tour for a while?
I would love to, and we try to. Like I mainly do events and music stuff now, but Vinny being at Whopper and the other two guys working full-time jobs, it is hard to find all the time to be in a band. But it's it's a great outlet, and the guys do commit. Like we commit lots of weekends, pretty much every Sunday we're jamming.
Yeah.
We're gigging almost once a week or twice a week at the moment, which we're probably going to cut down so we can record and write. But yeah, I'd love to just force everyone to quit everything and just be a band 24/7. But unfortunately, people need to make money to eat, which sucks.
Unfortunately, yeah, you need to fuel the machine.
Yeah.
So explain where do you usually play at the moment? Just have you got any upcoming shows you want to say?
We don't have anything booked at the moment. We just played at Yaya's. I run a night there called Giggity, which is like I run an open mic night. It's kind of a feeder for new bands coming up, and they get to play, and we kind of play, so they have a good band to support.
Yeah.
We play usually. I think the venues that we play the most are the Rosemount Hotel and Yaya's. They're like our favourite venues to play, and they really look after us. But we've played everywhere, like Mustang Amplifier Bar. We've played in Mandurah. We played at the Bird. We played at the Beat. So pretty much every venue that'll have us we'll play at, including house parties, whatever.
Including Voice of the Avalon, we're 1.3.
Totally. I love the Voice of the Avalon.
So do you remember what your first gig was like playing?
Well, like with Chris and Matt, we used to be in this terrible kind of new metal band when we were still in, I think, early high school, like year 8, and we all were studying at Junior Light Music. There's a little plug for Junior Light Music. Great place to buy your guitars and stuff. And they organised like a little gig for like all the students. So me, Chris and Matt, this is probably like 15 years ago or 11 years ago or something insane. Yeah. We played My Sharona with no vocals, and Deftones My Own Summer with no vocals, like me playing a bass guitar through like, the huge amps that were there. So I remember it being pretty terrifying, but I don't know. It's a long time ago, so it's hard to remember.
Those high school gigs are always nice and neatly organised. I remember back in high school. Actually, I remember our fiance through this little shitty kind of band. We were playing Planets by Short Stack, and for some reason nobody had plugged in my guitar, so I was just standing there, just strumming an electric guitar with no amp or anything, just there.
Maybe they thought you were that bad.
That's what I've come to the conclusion of.
They were just like, they did a Sid Vicious and they just unplugged you so you could just look the part, but no one had to hear your terrible strumming.
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to think happened.
It's a shame.
Yeah, unfortunately. So, yeah, do you have any other bands on the go at the moment, or?
No, I don't at the moment. I'm playing like a little bit solo just for fun and trying to get some cover gigs. But I think it's good. Like, I mean, it's great to have side projects. It's fun to stretch yourself musically, but I think it is good to try and have a focus. And I like to focus my writing for the Midnight Mules at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm always looking for other opportunities to play. I like to jam and do whatever.
Oh yeah. So I noticed that one of your YouTube videos had over about 1,000 views. How do you promote yourself on the internet?
A lot of Facebook spam, as you were saying before. Your friends are getting annoyed at you because you're like constantly spamming your radio stuff through your channel. Like, I do the same thing. Like, I just try not to over spam people, but I just share stuff on Facebook, and also like, as much kind of sharing websites and stuff that you can get onto. Like, there's like the Perth Music Network. There's like perthbands.com, which is a good way to share stuff. And also just doing every like kind of thing like this. Like, if any community radio station is interested in giving us a chance to have a chat, we'll always come in and give some CDs. Because like, if it gets us one more fan, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. My mum actually suggested you, because I posted on my Facebook. Does anyone know any local musicians? Everybody else, I can't do it this weekend. But luckily you replied.
Yeah,
and here we are.
I'm always happy to help out the community guys.
So when you're starting a band, do you think it's important to go through that whole covers process and posting it on YouTube and all that sort of thing, or did you guys just kind of jump into it with your own original stuff?
I think because we've all played like with the Midnight Mules, like me, Chris, and Matt have been playing together for ages. We'd already played covers together,
Yeah.
As kids, and I had a bunch of original songs that I'd written over the years, and Chris had a bunch of original songs that he's written over the years, and we actually played with a guy called Bart Daly, who we jammed with throughout all of our teens as well.
Yeah.
So we all kind of just locked in and instantly went into doing originals, and then when Bart bailed because he didn't want to play as many gigs as we did, we got Vinny, and because he's a super well trained whopper musician, he learned our verse, chorus, verse, rock and roll pretty fast.
Sweet.
So yeah, we went straight down the originals path. But we do cheeky covers in our sets now and then. It's fun to throw in like the old Limp Bizkit or like Blink 182 cover just for a laugh because people love that stuff when they've had a few beers.
Definitely. Well, damn, it always goes off at
totally.
Elephant wheelbarrow. Or...
Yeah, man. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how do you find it when you're first trying to get out there, trying to sell gigs and stuff? How did you find like, did you just play a bunch of venues for free, or?
Well, when we started the Midnight Mules, we just mainly kind of like put ourselves out there and just tried to get as many supports as we could before we actually had a show where we headlined. But earlier in other bands, like we would play like any kind of open mic, like whatever gig we could get, we would just play. And I think that's good. Like if bands are starting out, like stage time is like so precious. Like if you can just get on the stage, play an open mic, play wherever, whatever, even if you're playing to like just the sound guy and the bartender, it's all good experience. But we tried to build a bit of like stage experience before we decided to have our own gig. But once we had done maybe a year of support, we did what we call a band launch, and it was kind of our first headlining show for us to kind of say, look, we're the Midnight Mules now, and we're out in the scene. This is a gig for us, and if you want to play with us, hello, how are you going?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's all important. So before you're talking about your day job before we went on air, do you find it's important to kind of have that sort of backup sort of funding? To launch a project through, or?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be pretty hard, I think, especially in Perth, just to live off original music. You'd have to do covers as well, and like you'd have to busk, you'd have to be super proactive just to live off music, and it'd be really hard to fund a lot of the projects you'd want to do. Like, for example, we just did an East Coast tour, and we wouldn't have been able to do that if we didn't have our own savings to, to buy the tickets, to buy the accommodation, to get over there. Like, we could never have done that if we all didn't have day jobs. Yeah.
So, how much would something like that roughly cost?
It's hard to say, like, if you consider promotion as well, but, I mean, the tickets are, like, whatever, $500 or something, and then accommodation over the place. But luckily, like, you try and do it as cheap as you can, so you stay in, like, dodgy backpackers, and you stay with people that you meet. Like, you try and speak to bands, and you say, dude, we're over here touring, do you mind if we sleep on your floor?
Yeah.
And bands usually like to help each other out, because they know if they let us sleep on their floor, they can come to Perth play, and we have floor for them to sleep on too.
Oh yeah.
So it's like couch surfing for musos. It's pretty
nice. Yeah. So it's pretty hard grind on being a musician, but do you find like at the end of the day, it's all just worth it, or?
Oh yeah, man, I love it. Like, I couldn't imagine myself without music, even if the Midnight Mules like finishes one day, which I hope it never does, and I don't think it will, but I always think that music will be a part of my life. And I think all of us just love playing in this particular band because we're all such great friends. As much as we want to succeed in this band, it's just a great hobby for us. Like, people play footy, we go and play gigs. That's what we like to do. Yeah.
That's it. There's no need to chase around guys in short shorts.
Exactly. We chase girls instead.
Fair enough. So that being said, what is it usually like after a gig? Do you just go out afterwards?
Usually I do go out and have it pretty large, because it's funny, like as soon as you've played the gig, you've got so much adrenaline and you're pumped and you're like, yeah, I feel so good. And then you have a few beers and the adrenaline wears off and you're absolutely shattered, because playing a live show, because we go pretty crazy on stage, like, and I'm quite unfit, so like, it takes a lot out of you, man. But yeah, we always party after a gig.
So there's a lot going on in the Junior Lab HQ and stuff like that. Are you interested in any of that scene or?
Like the local the like the underage scene in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've actually thought about trying to do some gigs like that, but like HQ in Leaderville seems to be like kind of hard to play. Like you got to, I'm not too sure how it works, but you need to pay money to like organize something. I don't know, but we would love to do some underage shows to try and get like a young crowd into our stuff. And we're thinking maybe this year of just playing some high schools for free. Because I remember when I was at high school, bands would come through and like play at the auditorium in lunchtime. Yeah. And we would love that, and we would instantly just like the band because they were there. So and they would give out CDs and stuff. So
yeah,
we're going to try and get onto some of that stuff this year.
Yeah. All right, sweet. Well, I'm going to go into some Linkin Park in a moment, and we'll probably come back to this interview afterwards.
Groovy.
Alright, so this is Linkin Park. Hello, you're listening to Voice of the Avalon at 101.3 FM. It is almost 20 minutes past 4 o'clock, and it's 43.8 degrees on this scorching day. I'm still here with Tom Praying Mantis and Mantle.
How's it going?
Which is a nickname we've just came up with 30 seconds ago. Now to kick off from our interview, because I kind of ran out of ideas, so out of your band, what kind of influences do you guys have, and you just personally?
Well, we all grew up listening to like heavy metal and new metal and stuff as teenagers. That's why like we did the Deftones cover when we were little kids. But as we grew up, like we kind of just got into music in general, and I think definitely like as far as like favorite bands of mine, like I absolutely love the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like John Frusciante is by far my favorite guitarist, and he kind of changed the way that I see guitar and guitar playing. Paul Dempsey and Something for Kate, I absolutely adore. Like I can't get past his songwriting. That's more like influences for me. But I think when it comes down to sounds, like we probably sound like bands like Blur, and more recently bands like The Last Dinosaurs and kind of Two Door Cinema Club, like that kind of indie pop, but with a bit more heavy rock kind of infused there as well.
Oh yeah. So do you remember the first guitar you got?
Yeah, like when I was saying before, I played like when I was like 6 years old. My parents, I think my dad, because my dad obviously played guitar, and old mate Clive always wanted his son to play guitar as well. So he got me, I think it was called an Eagle. It was like a 3/4 size guitar, a little red one.
Oh, nice.
And it came with like a little pig nose amp. Just really cool busking amp. There's like a video of me when I'm like 5, just like smashing it and yeah, nice. Being a kid. So that was my first little guitar. I've still got it actually. It's signed by the Murder Dolls now, which is hilarious.
So you said that before you like toured with other bands. What other bands do you tour with at the moment? Sometimes, like from time to time.
Well, bands that we kind of, as far as touring go, but when we toured over east, we kind of just went by ourselves. But as far as bands that we've played with in Perth, like we've played with Paradise Motorin quite a lot, which is a band we love. They're good friends of ours, and I think they've got one of the most interesting sounds in Perth at the moment. We play, this is actually the lineup for our EP launch. There was Paradise Motorin, Fame, which are like a theatrical punk rock band. They're incredibly good. No Escape, the frontman of that band, is doing some really interesting stuff at the moment. And Lacey, which are like a kind of indie pop band, and they're just like fantastic. They just got back from touring the States. We've played with like heaps of bands, and we're happy to play with any band, like of any genre, if they're happy to play with us.
Oh yeah. So we've got the bands that you have played with, but what would your dream, like growing up as a kid, favorite musician, favorite live artist, who would your dream person be to support or to have support you in a perfect world?
I don't know, like it'd be cool to support. Like I would love to support obviously the Peppers because I love them, and also like Something for Kate, as I said before, like they're one of my absolutely favorite bands. But I don't know, it'd be cool to support a band that would just like party hugely afterwards. So maybe someone like
Motley Crue or something.
Yeah, like some real, even though like we're nothing to do with Motley Crue, we're not really like them, but maybe one of those old rock and roll bands that would just like, I don't know, get super wasted after the show. But I imagine every band would do that. But yeah, I don't know, it's just someone who wants to party. We play with them.
All right. So 2014. Sometime big day out, Something for Kate, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Midnight Mules.
Yeah, if you're listening, Paul Dempsey or Anthony Kiedis, we'd be happy to support you. If you need a Perth band, that'd be very convenient for us.
And they'll do it for free.
Totally.
So what's the small? We're talking about gigs you played. What's the smallest like gig you've just arrived and been like, what's going on?
We've done a few gigs where like, you know, you get there and they're just dead. Like maybe it's a random night of the week, like a Wednesday or a Tuesday, and no one's gone out. Maybe it's like winter and it's freezing cold and just you can't get anyone there, or it was badly promoted and you've just been there and like you've just played to like a bartender and a sound guy. But sometimes those gigs are the most fun because there's zero pressure. You're not trying to really impress everyone, so you just get drunk and have a great time, and it's awesome. We played like a pretty small show in when we were in, I can't remember if it was in Sydney or Melbourne, in this small bar. There was only like a small amount of people there, but like it was awesome. Like the small crew of like 20 or 25 people that were there just went nuts, and we all had a great time and ended up partying with them afterwards. So like sometimes small crowds are the best crowds. You know, you can have an audience of like 100 or 200 people, but if they're not interested, like you're better off playing to your mum who wants to listen to you.
Nice. Well, my mum's an avid supporter of my radio show at the moment.
I hope she's listening in.
That'll help make this interview possible, actually.
Yeah, totally.
So, what made you want to become a musician, other than the influences, and did you just find that it worked at some point?
It's just a great way to meet girls, really. No, like my mum has a dancing school, Denise Dancing School up in Perth, and I'd started dancing at a young age, so I started performing at a young age, and then when I went into like my angsty teenage years, I started listening to metal.
Yeah.
And obviously I'd already played a bit of classical guitar at that point, so then I was like, I just want to play guitar now and be a big metal guy, and started playing metal stuff, and then evolved beyond that and just became mainly interested in songwriting and trying to convey messages through song.
Yeah. Alright, cool beans. Now, before we go off air, are there any teachers that helped you learn guitar, or anybody you really like to thank before we come off air?
I've got to definitely thank my parents, because they're like always, they come to all of my gigs, like,
nice.
They love it, man. Like, I think half the time I'm doing it for them sometimes, because I know they just love going. I had a couple of great guitar teachers, like mine and Chris's guitar teacher in primary school, who went on to teach Chris into high school, was Mr. Perry, and he was an awesome guy. I then went to learn from a guy called Corey C, who was a real kind of hippie naturopath kind of guy, and he got me interested in jazz and stuff. And then a guy called Simon now Bursky, he was in a band called Nail Gun in the 80s, which was like a super shredding rock and roll band. And he kind of like taught me how to improvise and showed me like scales and stuff, and so he definitely helped my songwriting. He was the guy that kind of encouraged me to write songs as opposed to just trying to learn guitar. He was like, you should be writing songs and singing, so he got me singing, so I got to thank him for that.
Yeah. Alright, sweet. Anyway, we'll head off air anyway. With this next song is Green Day, Mantle. Thanks for coming in, Tom.
No worries, thanks for having me.
No problem.